The passage from one year to the next naturally prompts us to take stock, noting where we've come from and where we'd like to be in the future. We're devoting much of this week's show to a tradition started years ago at the Daily News and at the News Press, sitting down with a newsmaker who we believe is a person to watch in the coming year. Starting today and continuing in January, we're sharing in-depth interviews with people in a position to impact our daily lives. First up is the new leader of the area's largest healthcare provider. Lee Health touches almost every aspect of care, and for the first time in 3 decades, there's a new chief at the helm.
This move from volume to value is going to really change the delivery system, and it's not necessarily what Larry Antonucci wants, but it's what patients want and what patients deserve.
We'll also take a final look at a handful of images that summed up the year we leave behind. We'll have those stories along with the latest in our Positively Healthy Medical series. I'm Amy Osher, and this is Behind the Headlines. I'm Amy Osher. Thanks for joining us. In choosing people to watch in 2018, we wanted to profile individuals who have the power and position to touch our lives, but also bring a hint of the unknown. Healthcare is one of the largest drivers of the economy in Southwest Florida. With 5 hospitals, along with dozens of outpatient centers and specialty practices, Lee Health has a huge stake in the area's healthcare. Going into the new year, the system is stretching its reach both north and south, guided by a new CEO leading a business founded in sickness and in health. Now, we selected you as one of our persons to watch for 2018 because of the new role you assumed. Actually, you've had it now for several months now?
Yeah, June 1st is when I became president and CEO.
People may not be aware that you've been around and part of the health system, so you're not a new hire coming into the area. You have history with them. What were your roles working up to this?
Well, I actually came here in 1983 as a practicing obstetrician gynecologist, and I practiced for 24 years. And I built a primary care group with a number of other physicians called Physicians Primary Care, and I ran that for about 10 years before coming full-time with the health system in 2007. So in 2007, I became the Chief Administrative Officer of Cape Coral Hospital, and then from there I've moved on and was Chief Operating Officer for the system for a number of years before assuming the CEO President's role.
And in the last couple of years, everyone has noticed the phenomenal growth that Lee Health has undergone. Do you see that as continuing, or is that kind of just filling out now what we have?
Well, I think the growth has really mirrored the growth of the population. And we anticipate that that population will continue to grow at 2.5% a year for the foreseeable future. So we will continue to grow to meet the needs of the community.
And can you kind of discuss the size and scope of Lee Health currently?
Yeah, Lee Health is the 5th largest public health system in the country right now. And what's unique about us is that we don't receive tax support. So we rely completely on patient revenue to pay our bills and to take care of the future needs of the organization. We have 4 acute care hospitals. We have a children's hospital and a rehab hospital, along with a multitude of outpatient facilities, home health agency, a skilled nursing unit. So we really have the complete gamut of healthcare in the community.
How important are some of these other locations? Because I think you and I discussed at one point how hospitals now seem to be the sickest of the sick stay in, because if they can, most people want to be able to go home.
Right.
So is it important to offer these services throughout the area, the region?
It really is. We're seeing a move from inpatient to outpatient care. We really believe that in the future, the majority of care will be delivered in the outpatient setting or even the home. So it's very important that we have these facilities out and around the community.
And what do you think is an area that you would target for growth or services to a certain maybe demographic or population? We just have the Children's Hospital targeting those services, but do you see another area that you think that Lee Health is going to be kind of looking at with importance?
Absolutely. The Children's Hospital, as you mentioned, is the only children's hospital between Tampa and Miami, so there's a tremendous need for those type of services. On the adult side, there's a big focus on South Lee County. We anticipate that 30% of the Lee County population will live in that area. And for a long time, they've been asking for services, and we're going to be providing that in the very near future.
Can you talk about the new facility that recently broke ground?
Absolutely. We bought land down in South Lee County many years ago with the anticipation that someday we'd build a hospital there. we actually applied for a certificate of need that was turned down by the state. So what we're doing is we're building a very large facility that's going to be primarily outpatient, but it will include a 24-hour emergency room. So there'll be an emergency room there. There'll be what we call a clinical decision area for people that need to stick around for a while for observation. We'll have a surgery center, imaging, therapies, and physician offices. So it will be basically a hospital without hospital beds, is what we're referring to.
And I've always heard it said, but never directly from someone's mouth, that there's the potential then maybe to make it, if the tides change in future years, to make that a full-service hospital?
That's right. We're building it structurally so that it could, we could add a tower, a bed tower in the future if that became a possibility.
If you get the South area covered, and you certainly have Central and North Lee County covered, do you keep going across county lines then? I've heard that there's something in Babcock Ranch that you're providing some medical services there, which is probably in Charlotte County.
Yeah, we predominantly focus on Lee County, except for what we call regional services, such as trauma and children, for instance. Babcock was a unique opportunity because Babcock is an actual separate governmental entity, and part of it is in Lee County. So we're working with them right now to provide some services at their wellness facility and also in the area of primary care.
So if we look past like new facilities and things, what are the challenges currently facing the ones you have? I know that health grades will be coming out very shortly here, and that's been a constant area of concern, how to bring up those grades.
Right. Well, one of the things that we've done is when I became CEO, I really wanted to focus our strategy on 4 specific things. I think that it's important that you show a vision for your strategy and a vision that everyone can understand, from a housekeeper to a heart surgeon. So we reduced the strategic initiatives down to 4, and that's excellent patient experience, excellent patient care and outcomes, financial viability, and coordinated care. So that's really what we're focusing on, and we're building teams around that. We've changed our structure. We've added physician leadership at each campus to engage our physicians, because we realize none of these things can be achieved without our partnership with our physicians. And so we're really trying to change the way care is delivered in this community, and to raise that bar on quality and to lower the cost. In
a lot of business sectors, there are people that are there run because they run businesses, and some that come kind of organically from within the business. Yes. Do you think it makes a difference that you are a physician running a health system?
I think it makes a difference for a lot of reasons. Number one, not only am I a physician, but I'm a physician who practiced here. And as a result, I've worked side by side with many of the physicians on the medical staff. So there's been a certain trust that's been built up over these many decades. And I think it really helps as I go and I work with the physicians to try to change the metrics that we're trying to change with regard to improving quality and lowering costs. So I do think it makes a difference, and I think it just accelerates the change that we can undergo.
Since you bring the physician perspective in a little bit, you carry that with you. I've seen reports when they look at health systems of how top-heavy some are with administration, as opposed to the caregivers.
Right.
Do you think that's a concern when you have a physician that studied for 17 years to be a very specialty practice? You know, the question then their value to the overall system and their level of contribution?
Well, certainly there's a difference in qualities of being a physician versus being a leader sometimes, and you need to pick the right physicians. And we have many physicians in leadership positions in the system that understand what it means to be a leader, and we can see it. It's making a difference.
In 2018, what do you think the biggest initiative is going to be? I know you're relocating the trauma center, building out the new area in Estero. What do you think is going to be maybe the biggest focus, or something we might see as an accomplishment at the end of 2018?
I think one of the biggest new things that we're going to see is this move from volume to value. And what that means is it's changing the delivery system. And in other words, we're working right now with Medicare to take a subgroup of patients, and rather than be reimbursed on a fee-for-service basis, in other words, by how many things we do and how many patients are in the hospital, be reimbursed based on taking care of that population completely and being at risk for that population. And I think what that will do, it'll create all sorts of new delivery systems and new technologies that will allow us to do that. Because now we're going to be completely focused on how do we keep those patients healthy? How do we keep them out of the hospital? How do we keep them at home? And that's good for patients, it's good for the payers, and it could be good for the health system too.
That kind of reminds me of the move towards preventative care and
Right.
maintenance. Do you think that could be affected at all by what happens in Washington and what happens with health care and insurance and things like that?
Yeah, certainly we watch those things very, very carefully, but because of what happens in Washington can be so variable and so unpredictable, we have to focus on what we can control. And then what we have to do then is react to what happens in Washington or in Tallahassee. We're very concerned about Medicaid reimbursement. We've been seeing cuts in Medicaid reimbursement that affect the most vulnerable of our patients year over year. So we're trying very hard during this legislative session to deliver that message that we need to support the safety net hospitals like ours that take care of these patients.
I've heard that the Children's Hospital is a very large safety net because, not that you would deny care anywhere, but particularly with children, that is probably an area that you don't get as many reimbursements. Is that correct?
That's absolutely true. If you look at our reimbursement across the adult world, about 25% roughly would be Medicaid. And Medicaid is the lowest payer of all payers. On the children's side, about 70% of the children in the Children's Hospital are covered by Medicaid. So it's very, very difficult to provide the type of care and the acuity of care that these kids need under that reimbursement scheme. That's why philanthropy is so important with Children's Hospital and why this hospital will never have been built without the support and the generosity of this community.
And so obviously it's very important to be able to deliver those services. And in addition, I know that Lee Health has invested heavily in a lot of the technologies and diagnostic tools and some of those platforms. Do you think that really is a value add for the people in Southwest Florida? Without
a doubt. And the technology that we have developed here and have acquired here has really been top notch. And if you get a chance to tour the Children's Hospital, you'll see amazing things. And it's not only the technology though, it's the people. The things that we see in a children's hospital are very different than what we would see at a hospital that takes care of children. Because many hospitals will have units that take care of kids, but there are things that we do here, such as having full-time teachers that can come in and teach children if they miss school. Absolutely. There are specialists called child life specialists whose only job is the comfort of our kids, to help them through whether it's a test or a treatment. And they have very unique ways to do that, to distract children as they're getting an MRI or a CAT scan or an IV or whatever they might need. So these are the types of things that you'll see in true children's hospitals that just don't happen in other places.
Now I know for the past several years you have been up in top leadership within the health system anyway, but now that it's transitioned to where these are your decisions, do you see them going in a different direction that you have maybe championed before? You know, what's going to be the difference maybe before how Jim Nathan ran it and how Larry Antonucci runs it?
Yeah, I think that's really going to be driven by what's happening in the marketplace. I think that this move from volume to value is going to really change the delivery system, and it's not necessarily what Larry Antonucci wants, but it's what patients want and what patients deserve and what payers want. So I think we're going to see a different type of healthcare system, but it's really driven by outside forces.
Coming up, targeting baby boomers for health screening, looking for hepatitis C likely contracted years ago. That story is coming up after the break.
Life here is amazing, and so is the joint care. At the Total Joint Center at Physicians Regional Healthcare System, we've changed the experience of joint replacement for good. With our comprehensive joint care program, most hip and knee replacement patients return home in just 2 days, because we know you want to get on with your active life. Pain-free living starts at Physicians Regional Medical Center, Collier Boulevard, and Physicians Regional Medical Center, Pine Ridge.
Hiring the right moving company is important. Best Moving and Storage is a family-owned and operated business serving Southwest Florida for over 22 years. From our free in-home estimate until the last piece of furniture is in your new place or stored in our climate-controlled warehouse, we treat you like family. Best Moving and Storage is fully licensed and insured, with all of our employees being certified drivers and packers. When it comes to protecting your treasured belongings, choose a company that's experienced and trustworthy. Call Best Moving and Storage today at 239-592-6565.
My name is Steve Unser, and cabinetry is my specialty. I have been creating custom designed cabinetry for 20 years in Southwest Florida. And now I am celebrating the grand opening of our new Naples showroom. Steve Unser Cabinetry will help you design your kitchen, bath, or home office with stunning results, offering the best quality of cabinets with a wide variety of design options and pricing to fit any budget. If your kitchen isn't becoming to you, you should be coming to us. Now, 2 locations to serve you.
The past may be coming back to haunt people in the baby boom generation. Health officials believe many may be carrying the serious Hep C virus without knowing it. The good news is, in recent years, there's been a vast improvement in treatments that they can benefit from. Here's the latest in this week's Positively Healthy. Health experts have been circulating this call for years now that people born between the years of 1945 and 1965 should be screened for hepatitis C. A one-time blood test will reveal if they have the liver-destroying virus.
In the majority of people who are exposed to hepatitis C, it becomes a chronic infection. In other words, an infection that the body's own immune system does not completely eradicate. So it can go on to lead to chronic damage to the liver, and often does. And unfortunately, it's one of the more common causes of cirrhosis and its complications.
The most serious of which is liver cancer. Most affected boomers were believed to be infected in the 1960s through 1980s. Hep C is transmitted primarily through contact with infected blood. When it was first identified, treatment options were grueling.
There were many side effects, they were inconvenient, they were expensive, so it was really sort of the worst of all worlds.
Treatment options are much better now, according to board-certified gastroenterologist Michael Cohen. Many times, patients take a pill a day for 8 weeks and are cured 97% of the time.
It's what we call a sustained viral response. Once we finish the treatment, the overwhelming majority of these patients have no detectable virus in their system, so it is a complete cure.
It's hoped better options will encourage more boomers to roll up their sleeves and undergo screening.
It's really heartwarming for us as healthcare providers to see the evolution and the fact that patients are not only getting a simple and effective treatment, but it's also very well tolerated.
Now it's time to let Brent Batten have his say for the last time of 2017. Buckle up for this week's commentary.
Thanks, Amy. Unless you've been living in a galaxy far, far away, you know that Star Wars: The Last Jedi is now in theaters. The premiere of the 9th installment of the Star Wars saga was an event bigger than even a weekend on Jabba the Hutt's party barge, which, come to think of it, would make a good product. Outfit a pontoon boat with sunshades, deck guns, a band, some prisoners to feed to the Sarlacc, and boom, you've got a tie-in, which, as crazy as it sounds, would not be the worst product alignment to come out of the Star Wars series. Every time a new episode premieres, we're bombarded with product promotions attempting to latch onto the brand's popularity. At first, it was innocent enough, lightsabers and Luke Skywalker action figures for the kids. But during the 40-year run of the franchise, marketers have gotten more sophisticated and branched out into other areas. You can buy clothing, food, luggage, office supplies, pet products, automotive accessories, kitchen utensils, hygiene items, musical instruments, and more under the Star Wars brand. Here are some Star Wars products with tenuous ties to anything having to do with the story and the characters of one of film's strongest franchises. For $70, you can own a Star Wars: The Last Jedi handbag. The black bag is just like any other purse, except on the side in large gold letters it says, "Rule the Galaxy." I can't wait for the scene in the movie when Rey goes shopping in downtown Mos Eisley with her trendy new bag. Remember in The Empire Strikes Back when Luke had to sleep in the steaming entrails of a slain tauntaun to avoid freezing to death on the ice planet Hoth? Well, now you can own a child's slain tauntaun sleeping bag, complete with intestines printed on the inside lining. Pleasant dreams, little one. You can get Star Wars adult diapers, Star Wars toilet paper, Star Wars air sickness bags, and a Star Wars electric shaver. When did you ever see a character in Star Wars shave? Or use toilet paper for that matter? With all this Star Wars merchandise out there, a true fan would need a suitcase to carry it all. Not to worry, there's a full-size Kylo Ren suitcase from American Tourister for only $150. ideal for that trip to a galaxy far, far away. I'm Brent Batten. Be sure to read my columns on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays in the Naples Daily News. Check me out on Facebook, and as always, thanks for watching.
Still ahead, a year in pictures, tears, cheers, and who can forget Hurricane Irma? Some of the best images from our news photographers. That's coming up on Behind the Headlines.
Ring in 2018 in style at Behr's New Year's sale. Gather family and friends around this beautifully crafted dining table by Paula Deen for just $5.97. This warm and welcoming genuine leather power sofa for only $12.97. And don't miss the final days of special savings on all Tommy Bahama and Lexington designs. From the Behr family to yours, here's to a joyful and healthy new year. Behr's New Year's weekend sale this weekend.
The area's only 30 minutes or less ER service pledge means you'll find less waiting for the care you need. And because we're full-service hospitals, a lot more care if you need it. Less waiting, faster care. Only at Physicians Regional Healthcare System.
Hiring the right moving company is important. Best Moving and Storage is a family-owned and operated business serving Southwest Florida for over 22 years. From our free in-home estimate until the last piece of furniture is in your new place or stored in our climate-controlled warehouse, we treat you like family. Best Moving and Storage is fully licensed and insured, with all of our employees being certified drivers and packers. When it comes to protecting your treasured belongings, choose a company that's experienced and trustworthy. Call Best Moving and Storage today at 239-592-6565.
If new furnishings are on your wish list, our Behr's design team has a few suggestions. Here's Sue Huff in this week's Inspired Living.
Annette, there are so many options when it comes to flooring, when it comes to carpeting. How does one decide?
Well, it is very difficult, and especially with a new home, where a lot of these new Florida homes are open from the kitchen all the way to the formal dining room and formal living room, to making that transition. And generally, they start with a hard surface, usually wood or porcelain or stone, and then we hit the rugs. And because rugs definitely define a space. They can take you from the dining room to a informal family room very quickly by just the use of texture.
So you said we start design by the floor up, and I really was never aware of that. I always think I'm going to pick my furniture and then go the other way, but you said it's from the floor up to make everything seem consistent, and so there's a nice flow. Well, tell me, what are the fibers? What makes a difference in these rugs?
Well, what the fibers are usually wool. Wool actually absorbs humidity in Florida. I also advise using a good pad, because a synthetic felt or a felt pad will let that wool rug breathe. And so your condensation that comes from the concrete and through the tile and through the wood will flow right through all the fabrics, and that will breathe. Actually, it's a very good thing.
Well, tell me about the different, because they look different in the different light. So tell me about these.
Okay, what's really exciting, why I put these together, and I had a lot of fun doing this, is because these are all rugs from different manufacturers, and it was very simple to come up with a combination that transitions so well. Here, this is one of my favorites. This is a rug that we call the Sunrise Sunset rug, and the reason why is, as you can see it like this, and that we simply turn the rug and it has a totally different effect.
Look.
It's like abracadabra. And people can decide what they want featured. When someone walks into their home, do they want it to have the light, bright look, or do they want the more intensity of the color?
That's so awesome. So you want people to remember?
I want people to remember that I have over 30 years of flooring experience. Behr's is very, very particular on who installs their flooring from the floor up. And I just love this part of the business because it makes everything that they bought in the store come together.
And it shows. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Before we say goodbye to 2017, we're going to pause for a look back. In a year filled with highs and lows, from major weather events to milestone personal achievements, people in Southwest Florida have seen it all. And that brings us to a close for our last show of the year. We look forward to spending Sunday mornings with you in 2018. Remember, you can always catch up on past shows by logging on to naplesnews.com. On the left-hand side under Quick Links, select Behind the Headlines. I'm Amy Osher. See you back here next week.